Tearlament's strongest, thanks to Tatsuraimu. I don't know how they keep getting away with this, but let's talk about Tear. Hello guys and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are, of course, visiting Tear, because the deck's apparently not dead. I've actually seen a lot of other top players as well experimenting with this deck. In fact, I even dueled against one of them, I think. Yeah, you know the winner of the YCS? Or, not YCS, the MCS? I think they were playing Tear, and I think I played against them. I could be wrong, who knows? You can have whatever name you want, but it definitely felt like them. The way that they played, it just seemed very similar to the way that they play. So, apparently Tear is good. And here is the list that the Japanese player, the Tearlament's strongest, is in fact playing. And yeah, let's just go through the card by card and the explanations. Starting off with the standard stuff, we're maxing out on the Tear names. The one Havness, the two Sheeran, the triple Rhino Heart, and the one Kashtira Tear, or Tearlament Kashtira. All makes sense. Cool. Moving on. We are playing we're playing two Supreme Seamare. This is basically just an Aqua that mills, or that sends to the graveyard a Tearlament name, or a Gamma Seal. That's basically it. It's a Water Aqua. Pretty cool. We also have Gamma Seal in here as well as another Aqua target, as well as just an out to like Noir and stuff like that. Cool. Moving on. Oh, let me real quick talk about Tearlament Kashtira. If you don't know what this card does, basically it's a quick effect summon by banishing a Tearlament or a Kashtira card from hand or grave, and then on summon it mills cards, and if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, it also mills cards. So it's just like an additional way to mill cards for you. That's mostly it. Which is great. Fantastic. You'll love to see it. As for the Kashtiras, which is basically the second half of our deck, we're playing the two Fenris, the triple Unicorn. We are also playing one apiece of Wraithsoth, Birth, and Theosis. Theosis is actually really nice. There were a couple of times where I wanted the second Birth, but being able to like flex the Theosis into a Fenrir at the end of the turn through Unicorn was pretty nice, because the Fenrir could then also search out the Kashtira Tear, or Tear Cash, which would then allow you to special summon it on the opponent's turn, or even on your turn if you needed to get that additional summon, which is pretty good. As for the rest of the cards, it's a weird amalgamation of engines. So first and foremost, hand traps. We're only playing 4 hand traps. That's it. And the reason for this is pretty simple, but the Kashtira cards, the Kashtira cards are very good at going second anyway. You also have Havness, which is kind of a hand trap, kind of not. We're also playing Gamma Seal as well as the triple tack. And yeah, that's basically it. Of course, we can go second pretty effectively with all of these cards, so it's not really that big of a deal. However, we are playing 1 Maxi and 3 Ash Blossoms. Reason for this is because Ash Blossom allows us to more easily make Baron with a Kashtira. So yeah, it's better to play Ash Blossom. Also, it outs Maxi. That's basically it. So yeah, there you go. We're also playing a small Synchro engine with Fangly the Soldier Palm. I have never heard of this card before playing this deck. It actually never came up for me, but it's a funny card. If this card is sent to the graveyard by monster effect, special summon it. That's it. It's a level 1 tuner that special summons itself when sent to the graveyard by monster effect. Fantastic. That allows us to use a level 7 and a level 1 in order to go into, that's right, a Chaos Ruler. Cool. You loved to see it. Chaos Ruler, Mill 5, you all know what this card does. If you don't, here you go. Read it real quick. Moving on, we have ourselves the 1 Snow, pretty standard. We also are playing Destrudo as another way to get into Shooting Riser, which can also get into Chaos Ruler, and a few other things, which is pretty nice. So there's that. We also have ourselves a small Shadal package with 1 Beast and 1 Hell Shadal. Hell Shadal just allows us to mill more cards. Beast draws us a card. It's pretty simple. Don't really need to explain that. As for the rest of the cards, we are playing the 3 Triple Tactics. This is better than Thrust because oftentimes with Thrust, you want to search out a specific card, and if you're milling a whole bunch of cards, it's not 100% likely that you're going to see that card, so it's better just to play the Triple Tactics. Also, oftentimes you're just wanting the Triple Tactics anyway, because being able to either take control or draw to or look at the opponent's hand is oftentimes much better than getting like a potential Meta Noise set, or like maybe a second card that's going to brick you a bit if you end up drawing it. So yeah, that's basically it. We're playing 1 Tearlament's Grief, which allows us to special summon a monster and then send to the graveyard a monster of the same type or attribute, including the monster that you send. Or you could also send the card that you special summon, which is pretty cool. So you could just like activate this and like send a fusion monster to the graveyard, which is pretty good. We're also playing the one Perla Rhino, pretty standard. Triple Scream, the one Heartbeat. Heartbeat's actually very nice to be able to like add back a trap because of this card, Meta Noise, being as good as it is. First of all, being able to add back a Tearlament name in the grave is very nice because being able to add back Tearlament Kashtira, that's a quick play. You can add back Havness, which is also a quick play on the opponent's turn. Adding back Rhino Heart to add additional recovery is very nice, especially since this deck is now much more about the grind game, so that's also very nice. But more importantly, if you control a Tearlament monster or a Visa Starfrost, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position, then send a tier monster from your deck to the grave. Now, what this does for Tearlaments is basically say, if I have a Tearlament monster on my field, I activate this, I flip down a monster, and I get to fuse. Now, not only is that very strong right now, because a single Kashtira monster hitting the field can immediately be Book of Moon, and then we also get to go off and combo, but it also cuts Kashtira off of basically all of their plays. Not only is it good against Kashtira, but it's also just kind of good in general. Right? You could just kind of flip this against almost any deck, and it's probably going to win you the game, because you just now get to fusion summon into a Kit Kalos, which is not banned. And then, of course, the one SnowiKs. As for the extra, one Winda, it came up a couple of times, but honestly, it wasn't even the best option most of the time to make, mostly due to its low attack stat. Again, if you're playing against a lot of Kashtira, or other such decks like that, that have like a Fenrir on their side of the field, or whatever it may be, yeah, Winda just kind of dies. So they only need the one summon, so it's much better to go for something like Dragostapelia, which we are also playing. This card is fantastic. Turns out being able to change the level of a monster, like for example a level 7, to prevent it from being able to go into a rank 7, as well as being able to negate its effects, is pretty good. We're also playing, of course, the one Kit Kalos, the one Root Kalos, and the one Kaleido Heart. As for the Synchros, we're playing one Riser Dragon, which can send a Snow, or I don't know, a Havness to the graveyard to modulate its level, which is fantastic. You can also send, you can also summon a Dragite with a level 8, which allows us to have a monster, or a spell trap negate, which is pretty nice, given the fact that Evenly Matched exists. Obviously, Chaos Ruler and Baron are also in here as well. Next up, we have the Baguska as a plan B. We also have ourselves a Time Thief Redoer, which is very strong, being able to basically afford us either a way to play, or to continue to play, if like we didn't end up milling a Sheeran or a Havness or something like that, or being able to utilize this as an additional fusion summon on our opponent's turn. It could also potentially draw us a card, or even like use it as a disruption with its trap effect. So there's that. We also have one Rise Heart. If your opponent activates Shangri-Ira in the standby phase to special summon a Kashtira monster, you get to now go special summon a Kashtira, any Kashtira, special summon it, no effect, immediately go into a Rise Heart, walk into the opponent's card, activate the Rise Heart, grab up a monster, or grab up something that's banished, attach it to it, and then go into Zeus, wipe the field, which entirely deals with the Kashtira board before you even commit to anything else. So there you go. Then we have a Dark, and of course we have the Underworld Goddess as another out to Noir. So that's the deck. Let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performed. Alright, so here we are going first, and that's Karibo. That's the name of the MCS winner. Master Championship Series, I believe. Not the Meta Championship Series, but the Master Circuit Series. That's what it is. The MBT one. So, yeah. I think this is them. I could be wrong. But they certainly played this way. But, yeah. Out comes Maxi from them. And I get to go Fenrir and search out the Tearlament Kashtira. We're going to activate the Sheeran here, and I am going to have play into the Maxi. I can't just end on Fenrir. That's just not going to work. I do hit the Rhino Heart, and I decided to actually activate the Rhino Heart here. The reason I do this, I actually do chain this incorrectly. But the reason I do this is because I'm like, well, maybe if I hit the Hell Shaddoll... no, I actually do chain this correctly. Maybe if I hit something off of the Hell Shaddoll, I could do something. But I kind of do need that fusion summon, so I go for the Rhino Hearts to get the guaranteed fusion. So, yeah, I go for the Rhino Heart here, pitching the Heartbeat, because it's not really going to do anything here. And I do end up milling the Sheeran, so it wasn't that great of an idea. So I just don't activate the Rhino Heart. There's no real point for me sending an additional card. But, yeah, we're going to go for the Kit Kalos, and I actually added the Meta Noise, because I just feel like it's the strongest play here. So my opponent has 8 cards in their starting hand. So there you go. They're going to immediately Gamma Seal my Kashtira. I'm like, that's okay. Out comes Birth, and I'm like, okay, that's a bit scary. Out comes Scream. They're going to normal summon the Punk Xiaomin, and I go, that's not allowed. I'm going to immediately flip this down. This is why I believe Meta Noise is so strong. I think the normal summon is very strong as well, and just being able to like cut the opponent off of that, especially since that's their first summon. I know, okay, if they do have a Kashtira, they can't normal summon it now, and they would have to mill it. So there's that. But I also do just get to immediately fusion summon. So we're going to go for the Happiness here. We're going to activate the effect, and we're going to fusion summon into, that's right, Kaleido Heart. I go for the Kaleido Heart here, actually utilizing their own Kaiju, which I believe I sent. Oh, I shuffled it back, which is very, very funny. But yeah, now I can go for a Kaleido Heart. And the reason I go for this one in particular is because of Birth. I just want to get rid of it. I'm like, nah, that's kind of scary. I don't really want to deal with this. Also, they're also playing Tier, which is very funny. So yeah, I'm just going to shuffle that away. They actually do have Happiness, which I'm like, oh, no. I just kind of have to hope that they don't mill anything off of these 6 mills that they're getting. So a bit of a misplay maybe, but they did kind of bait me into that with the Happiness. They did draw the one of, and they hit Jet Synchron. That was it. That was all they hit. Their mills were not the greatest. But then they go for Kurikara Divicarnate, and I'm like, no. So my card doesn't trigger, but they pitch Destrudo as well in their hand. I'm like, that's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna go for this now, just in case, because I do see a world in which they end on like, or they end up going for like, I don't know, something. But the reason I'm going for the Tearlament Kashtira here is to get additional materials in the grave for Snow, so that at the very least, if they do end up summoning something, I actually have a way to summon Snow. So that's why I'm going for this here. So I'll go for the Tearlament Kashtira. I'm going to banish a card from my grave and special summon this guy. I banished the Heartbeat, doesn't really matter. But I just want to mill a few more cards for me. I don't really hit anything. I hit Scream, which is fine. I grab another SnowiKs. I'm like, okay, I can't really do anything here. Hopefully the Snow carries me. They do go for the Dark here. I'm like, okay, that's fine. They activate the Dark, and I'm like, okay, I do have to just activate the Snow and banish the target for this. Good play from them. Can't really do anything to contest that, but I do get a flip down to Divicarnate and basically prevent them from actually activating this Destrudo, unless that last card in hand actually does something. I don't know what it could possibly be, maybe a triple tack, but yeah, they don't have anything. They just walk into my Kitkalos and pass the turn. I was like, okay, whew, I've weathered the storm. I'm feeling okay. And I draw a Destrudo myself, but I'm like, I don't really think that I need this, given the fact that I already had these two as a level 4, or a rank 4. But I do get to go for Baron here. And I decide I'm just going to immediately pop this Scream. Sure, you can get the Surge, that's fine. But honestly, just dealing with Scream, preventing them from, like, if they draw a tier name, just, like, going off here. So there's that. I go for the Time Thief Redoer, and I do make a bit of a mistake here. I actually just activate the Time Thief Redoer. I should have waited, should have gone to battle, walked over the opponent's monsters, and then fused in the battle phase, but it's all good. And I actually think this probably was the correct play, and you'll see why in a second. So I actually go for the Rukalos. It's kind of the only thing that I can summon here, and I'm just going to walk into the Divicarnate as well as the Punk Xiaomin. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point, and I actually do think that, honestly, not walking over the Dark is pretty nice. I actually don't have a target in the graveyard for the Dark, so it's not like it's going to do anything there, and more importantly, it doesn't give them a search. I couldn't really destroy this or do anything with it without forcing out the negate from my Baron, so I do feel like this is probably the best play. I have the SnowiKs, I have the Rukalos, I have the Baron, and I get back the Redoer, so I have at least something here. We also have Unicorn, potentially to do something. We grab a Fenris, which is nice. They're going to go for the Xiaomin, and I go, or sorry, they normal summon another Xiaomin and activate Destrudo. I'm like, this is a very easy negate. I don't know what they could possibly make. Maybe if they go to Destrudo, they could make Underworld Goddess, which could be a little bit threatening, but I don't know what their link package is, nor what they could do with this Destrudo. And I just feel like with the amount of cards that they have in hand, I know that they have a SnowiKs in hand, this feels like a very simple negate. So I'm just going to negate it. And just prevent it from hitting the field. There's not really anything else for them to do, and they concede. Fantastic. All right, so here we are once again going first, and this shows you the power of Unicorn and what it does. So we're going to special summon the Unicorn, grab up Theosis. Here my opponent decides to go for the Droll Knockbird, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. That does hurt, but I do get to know what they are playing, and I see the Muckracker, I see Chaos Angel, and a few other cards, and I'm like, okay, this is Labyrinth. 100% of the time, this is Labyrinth. So I just banished the Muckracker because it was a 1-of. I was like, okay, cool, that's a very easy banish. We're gonna go for the Havness here with the Rhino Heart, and now we can actually go for the Kick Colors. Now I can't search anything, but I can send the Sheeran to give me an additional fusion summon. I decided to go for the Rucolos because again I do know that it is Labyrinth, unless it's like some weird amalgamation of other cards, and they just wanted to like make their extra deck look like Labyrinth. I don't know. I still think Rucolos is the best play here, given the knowledge that I have, because I just get to negate if they end up trying to special summon. We're going to special summon out the Fenris, as I mentioned previously, but I don't actually go for the search here, because I can't, because I'm under roll. But we do have the Ash, we do have the Rucolos, and I'm feeling pretty good. They're going to grab up their monster, and I decided to keep the Ash here, they go for Ariana, grab up the trap, and I keep the Ash, obviously, to try and hit the trap if I can. But yeah, we just banished the Ariana, and we banished the Chaos Angel. It was also 1-of, very easy. They're going to go for the Triple Tactics Thrust, and I go, no. This is why I kept the Ash pretty good. They step forward and pass, and I go, oh no! Okay, this could be a bit scary. We're going to go to main phase 1. I'm going to flip up the Unicorn. They're going to flip, I'm going to activate the Unicorn. They're going to flip up Power Sync Stone. So there's that. Each time a monster effect is activated, place... Now, notice that this is activated, and not each time a monster effect resolves or anything like that. So while I've already activated the Unicorn, this isn't going to get an additional token on it. So do keep that in mind. But we're going to flip this face up. They're going to go for the Dogmatic Punishment. They're going to go for the Barrier to call fusion monsters, and they're going to pop my Rucolos. I can't activate anything there. And I just go, cool, activate Birth. I know that last card is the Big Welcome, so it's just going to bounce a monster back to their hand, which they could potentially do something with, but I do have the Fenrir to just banish their Power Sync Stone and continue to play. My opponent realizes that and concedes the game. Cool. And now, if you've stayed around for this long, I have saved the best for last. So here we have a Tearlament hand. I promise this is Tearlament. My opponent is playing Kashtira. They go for Ogre, grab up the field spell, and out comes Theosis. I'm, of course, going to Ash that, and they called by it. Not looking good. Well, they simply won't see anything off of this Ogre. Promise. Sheeran, Fenris, Sheeran, Ash Blossom, and Seamare. They banish the Fenris. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then they grab a Rise Heart. Now, if you know what a Rise Heart does, I'm kind of in trouble. So, they're going to banish a card, they're going to banish the 3 cards, and hey, that's both of my Sheerans. Uh-oh. Not looking good. It's really not looking good for me. But we do have the Unicorn, we do have the Gamma Seal, I'm feeling okay. They're going to make a second Shingara here, and then set 2 and pass. Now, I know one of those is Preparation, because they don't have another card in hand, and they didn't send it to the graveyard. One of those is Preparation. The other one is almost guaranteed to be an Imperm. So I am actually going to play around the Imperm here. They're going to activate the Shingara, and I go, mwah, thank you. I'm going to Gamma Seal you, 100% of the time I Gamma Seal you. And then I get to special summon the Unicorn. Unicorn doesn't need to activate its effect. We're going to go straight into a Rise Heart. We're going to go to the battle phase here, and we're going to walk over the Unicorn. The reason I do this is so that I can attach the Unicorn to my card as material to get it into the graveyard, just in case this is an Imperm. I'm specifically playing around Imperm because what else is that set card going to be besides either Called By or Imperm? Might as well play around it, right? I know the Preparation is on the field, and it can only special summon from Banish and from Grave, or from hand. So if I get this card into the grave, it's not going to do anything. That's why I do end up walking into the Unicorn, taking it, and specifically attaching it to my Arise Heart. So that's why we go for that. Yes, I could have attached one of my Sheerans, which would have been very nice, but them getting a Unicorn is full combo, and if they have the full combo and the Imperm, that seems like a much worse deal for me. I do go for the Zeus here, and I do detach 2 of my cards, so I didn't necessarily have to take the Unicorn, but anyway, they obviously have the Imperm, of course, but that's fine because we do have the Seamare and we haven't normal. So I am going to activate go for the Seamare, send to the graveyard the Havness, go into the Kit Kalos. Kit Kalos effect is going to search. They're also going to activate the effect here for reasons. I actually just grabbed Soliek because I don't really have anything else that I can do. I've already used Havness and I don't really have much more else for me to do. Sure, I could have gone for a Meta Noise. I think Soliek is just the best option as a permanent negate. So there you go. they draw for turn, and they activate their Shangri-Ira, and I go for the SnowiKs, obviously. So we're going to mill a few cards here by sending the Kitkalos. They do also get to rip a card out of my hand with preparation. Again, nothing I can realistically do about that. I'm going to mill a few cards here. Also, the cards in my hand aren't great, so I'm like, that's fine. Like, yes, the Destrudo would have been nice, but that's fine. I mill Snow, which is very important, and kind of nothing else. I do mill a Scream, which is nice. I guess I mill Kashtira, or Tearlament's Kashtira, which allows me to mill additional cards, so, you know, it's fine. They're going to lock a few more zones. Well, they're going to lock one more zone. I'm going to go for the Tearlament Kashtira here to mill additional cards, as well as the Scream. I don't know what that card in hand is, but hopefully it's not anything. They're going to special summon, and I go, oh, they did draw a monster. Let's see what it is. Ogre. Apparently they're playing 2 Ogre. That's fine. I grab a Meta Noise, I'm like, okay, this should be okay. They can't really out my Zeus, so I should be fine. I do end up milling a Rhino Heart, which is very, very nice. Because now we can go for the Rhino Heart here. We're going to activate the Rhino Heart effect, and we're going to send it to grave the Meta Noise. They do get to trigger the Ogre, but that's fine, because guess what? Because I am not turn player, I get to activate my Rhino Heart as Chainlink 2, which means that guarantee I get to send the Havness to the graveyard before they can actually banish it with Ogre. Which, if they did, I'd just be straight out of luck. But I do get to add back as well the Tearlament Kashtira, which seems pretty good. I sent it to the graveyard to Havness, so now we can Fusion Summon. They're going to reveal a whole bunch of cards that honestly don't end up mattering. And I believe they end up banishing a Fenrir. No, they banished a Meta Noise. So, it's kind of annoying, but whatever. They're going to banish, or they're going to negate another of our monster zones, or block them. But that's fine, we're just going to Fusion Summon into our own Kaleido Heart. Now, I have to deal with the Shangri-Ira here. Right? And the reason I have to deal with this one in particular is because it's the one that is not negated. My opponent has actually played this very well because they specifically activated the Shangri-Ira with multiple materials. Which means, because they've activated the effect and it has resolved, I don't even think it needs to resolve though, but now they can go straight into a Rise Heart with this to make it with 3 materials, which means even if I do go for Snow, they do have the ability to banish something. So that's a bit of a pickle, but I do have to specifically shuffle away this Shangri-Ira because that's the one that was blocking my zones. They go to main phase 1, and I do think that this is a bit of a misplay. I think I should have just fired the Snow and just flipped this card face down immediately. That's bad on my part. But even with that being said, they would have just made the Arise Heart with it anyway, and it still would have been bad for me. So I do think I do kind of have to wait for the Arise Heart to actually hit the board before going for the Snow. I go for the Snow, banishing a whole bunch of cards. I banish this guy in particular that was already on my field because he's going to get banished anyway, and I'm like, there's no way that he sticks around. Obviously, I'm going for this. I put Snow in attack position for 2 reasons. 1, because it's funny. 2, more importantly, Zeus does have a secondary effect where if a card is destroyed, you get to attach a material from extra deck or deck to this card as material. Which means, if that ends up happening, if they walk into my monster, I do get to just wipe their board, which is pretty good. So I kind of just like baiting them in. I'm going to obviously flip down the Arise Heart. The Arise Heart is going to activate, banishing a whole bunch of cards, and targeting my Kashtira, or Kaleido Heart, obviously. I think SnowiKs might have been the better play here, but it's kind of hard to say. But they now have targets for their preparation, and there's nothing I can do about that. They're going to proceed to the end phase. I'm going to just go for the Tearlament Kashtira here to mill additional cards and get more cards into the graveyard as fuel for Snow. That's basically all that this is. I'm just praying that Snow gets me there. At this point, I don't actually have a great out for this guy, but I do top deck Rhino Hearts, so that's pretty good. They're going to go for the preparations here, and I'm like, that's fine. They're probably going to go for the Fenrir to potentially do something off of that. I'm like, that's okay. Nothing I can really do. I'm going to go for the Havness here. They're going to go for the Ogre. Again, the Havness is already engraved. You can banish whatever you want. It's Theosis, Unicorn, Birth, Heartbeat, Fenrir. They end up banishing the Heartbeat, which is fine, I guess, because, you know, they want to keep their preparations. I guess that's the right play. We're going to go into the Kitkalos here. And we're going to go Kitkalos effect. They're going to target my with Fenrir, they're going to target the SnowiKs. I haven't activated the SnowiKs this turn, so I'm going to permanegate that. No, thank you. Sending Kitkalos to the graveyard. Negate. Activate Kitkalos. Grab up the Kashtira tier that we just put back, or the Tearlament Cash. And then we're going to mill a couple of cards. They're also going to rip a card out of my hand because of the trap that we activated. And I'm like, okay, I'll just summon this. It's whatever. That's why I grabbed it. So yeah, there's that. We're going to banish a card. And we're going to mill a few more. We do end up hitting Beast, which is pretty nice, so we get to draw a card. And we also get to mill a few more. Again, all just facilitating the snow that will go to the grave. And I end up drawing Triple Tack, which is fantastic. Yes, you saw that correctly. I walk in with the snow to attach a material. I just attach a dead extra deck monster. And we're going to walk over the rest of the board as best we can. Now, notably, I can take control of an opponent's monster that's face down. So I end up doing that, flipping up the Arise Art and just linking it off. I could have potentially walked over the Fenrir, but it's also negated, and I don't want them to get access to an additional card on their field, like, for example, a Unicorn that they could special summon. So now, with just the Kashtira Scareclaw, I'm like, that's absolutely fine. However, I'm actually going to fire the snow in response to their preparation. So either they have to special summon from hand, or they have to special summon from the banish pile, and in which case, on summon, I just flip the card face down, preventing them from really doing anything. So I flip down the Kashtira Scareclaw, and I'm like, cool, that's fine. They're gonna walk over my Tearlament card, and I get to attach another material, which probably doesn't matter. And it's Triple Tack. And do you know what they choose? Do you know what they decide to choose? Out of drawing two, taking a card, what do they choose? Not the better of the two options, but to take control. Zeus can just wipe the field here, and I'm pretty much good. I'm going to get the Zeus back. They can't do anything. They didn't attack the Zeus, therefore they can't slap a Zeus on top of it, so I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You can take my Zeus. That's fine. The entire rest of my board goes to the graveyard, but I do get the SnowiKs Search, and Snow is in the graveyard to kind of speed up the process. Basically, I have them on a 2-turn clock here, and you'll see in a second. It passes back to me. They have nothing. Nothing in the grave, nothing in their hand. I'm fine. I drew our Unicorn, which isn't great, but I can go Havness and Zeus in. I keep the snow. It needs to stay in the grave, because now, if they have anything here, I activate Snow, and I flip it face down. This is checkmate. There's nothing that they can do. The game is over. No card that they can draw that gets them out of this, and they concede. Good game. Trust, guys. Kashtira beats Tearlament. Now, all things considered, this deck is incredibly powerful. Being able to utilize your Kashtira cards so effectively in order to out the other Kashtira players' boards is very nice. On top of that, the deck still is pretty consistent. Yes, it's not ending on insane boards or consistently hitting cards when it needs to, like, for example, off of a Tearlament Kashtira or off of a Scream or something like that, but it still has its plays because of Kit Colors. Turns out, being able to search a card is pretty good, whatever card that may be. You can also just send a card to the graveyard if you need, like, a fusion summon, or if you need a other search or something like that, which is pretty strong as well. So all in all, yeah, this deck is still very powerful and definitely can play through quite a bit, even with Kashtira in the format. Now, do I think that this is the best deck? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But it's still playable. Quite a lot. It's arguably still up there in the top echelon because it does have a pretty decent matchup against basically everything that isn't Kashtira, and even against Kashtira, it can play a lot of cards to specifically beat that strategy. I'm trying to think if there is a strategy that really is stronger than this, or more specifically, that has a good matchup, and the only one I can think of is maybe Pearly. And the only reason for that is because it can also target cards in the graveyard and shuffle those away, which means you could basically stop your opponent's fusion summons. But all in all, even with that being said, going first against Pearly, you probably can just win the game anyway, right? Meta Noise is still good against that deck as well, unless they hard draw the Stray Street, which, you know, happens sometimes, but that's where Kaleido Heart comes in. That's where all of these other cards do help facilitate. Basically, every deck has some sort of out with Tearlaments, which is incredible. Now, it is inconsistent, which is always a problem, and it doesn't have the greatest of times going second, but it does have a lot of options available to it, both in going first and going second, which is very cool. Kashtira is really strong. That's all that I gotta say. Kashtira is really strong. Basically, all of these cards are very, very powerful and facilitate the Tearlament options just as much as their own options, which is very funny. So yeah, that's basically it. Tearlament's strongest. That's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always Stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.